Hello and welcome to part 3 of getting my Mini back on the road. If you've watched the first 2 episodes, you'll know that the clutch sleeve cylinder bolts snapped, so they're currently sat within the gearbox. The gearbox is a bit of a state and generally needs a clean in order for the new clutch to go in. And for today, although I have ordered bits, I am going to see if I can get these bolts out, and that way when the new slave cylinder arrives it can go in. So let's have a crack at getting those out. In this clip you'll see me start off just by gently wire brushing the nuts on bolts, just to see if I can break any surface corrosion between the two materials. After the gentle drill bit, I'll use a more traditional hand wire brush, and the bolts are also soaked in WD-40 to try and loosen them off. Plan of attack is to use some socket-based extractors, and between the Ryobi impact gun being used to get the socket started. After this, I was able to switch to using a traditional ratchet, which could be extended to provide a bit more leverage. This in turn, well, it seemed to have worked, because by the end of this clip you will see the bolts come out. safe to say that was a success. And this little set, admittedly, this one has taken a bit of a battering. Whether it'll work again, I don't know. But this little set from Amazon has done the job, and we have both bolts out without damaging the gearbox. So we don't need to replace the gearbox casing, which is always a result. Let's move on to trying to get some of this lot cleaned up so that when it goes back on, A, it's not grotty, and B, it's easier to spot any leaks. So after about 20 minutes scrubbing with the detailing brush, don't worry, it's a free one, not an expensive one, and a wire brush, it looks a lot better than it did. This isn't meant to be concourse, this is just, can I reinstall it without getting completely covered in grot. So we're going to move to the inside of the gearbox, where it is pretty thick and grotty. I'm going to try scraping as much of the grot off as I can, and then it'll be onto the gunk cleaning stuff, and probably a wire brush to try and get it as good as we can. That is grim, to say the least. So I think that gives you the idea of what I'm going to do with the inside of the gearbox. The main reason for doing it is just to stop any of the grease or old clutch material dust contaminating the new clutch and flywheel and everything else. And again, it just helps highlight and see any leaks going forward. So I'll pick you up when I've done that bit. So I've scrubbed this now for maybe an hour or so. It's definitely looking a whole lot better in there. So again, it doesn't need to be perfect. This is just about not getting covered in grot, as evidenced. So yeah, we now have the gearbox is prepped, ready to go back on once all the rest of the bits arrive. So I think it's safe to say prepping the gearbox was a bit of a success. It's nice to have a bit of a win on this car so far. The parts, some parts are on order. I think the next bits I will be able to do is the gearbox, the subframe refresh. So I've received the poly bushes, I've got the ball joints on order, they should be here in the next couple of days. I have received the leaky oil kit for the engine, however I just need to get hold of my engine or an engine crane to lift the engine out, and then I can crack on with cleaning the engine, replacing all the oil seals. I'm going to try those nut extractors on the rocker cover because that's got the rusted, corroded nuts, so hopefully, or bolts, so hopefully those will come off with that. If not, backup plan is just to sacrifice a few old sockets and knock them on. I have received now a replacement flywheel. I'm just trying to sort out a clutch, the CV joint boots and a steering tie rod, and then I should be able to just sit and put it all back together with a bit of luck. Thanks for tuning in, and please like, subscribe and ding the bell, and hopefully you'll get notified of part 4.